What if your favorite Pixar movies took place in space? Today I'm taking 3 classic Pixar posters and turning them into space movies, starting with Finding Nemo. First thing first, let's import a UFO, and I'm gonna use select subject to remove the shadow. Then I'll get another UFO with a taller cockpit and place it on top. But the colors don't match, so I'll use hue and saturation to fix that. The reason I want to use a UFO is because it looks really similar to a fishbowl, which means if we draw some water inside of it, it becomes the perfect place for Nemo to swim in. And while we're at it, we can add some bubbles to show that he is breathing, or whatever fishes do. Anyways, let's switch up that ugly green for something more reminiscent of Nemo, like this nice blue color. But I do think this UFO design is a little too simple, so why not add a more detailed part underneath it? The glowy part kinda looks like a reactor, so maybe we can pretend it helps it fly into space. And it would look pretty cool if the reactor was matching Nemo's color. If you ever had a fish, you probably know that they need some sort of pumping system to survive. So we can add a nice pipe for the water to go through and match its material with the silver that's already on the spaceship. We're gonna do the same thing with these cool futuristic looking pipes as well. And for extra realism, I cut out the part behind the glass and lowered its opacity.
Nice job, team.
The thing is, Nemo would probably get pretty sad being so far away from his home. So in order to cheer him up, I'm adding some corals inside of the cockpit, and if we just paint some blue on top of them, they look like they're actually underwater. Okay, so now we got a cool looking UFO, but it needs to be flying somewhere. So let's import these nice cosmic clouds and overlay some extra stars on top of them. The idea is trying to get as many bright spots as possible, so that when we add motion blur, they make these really nice lines. And they're even more visible when we increase contrasts. If we want to show that Nemo is going really fast, we can duplicate his spaceship and add a bunch of motion blur before switching the blending mode to multiply. And just for it to look a little nicer, let's light up the bottom of the UFO. Because this poster has such a simple composition, the way the title looks is gonna make or break it. I'm gonna type out Nemo the Space Fish and change the font to something more futuristic. And now it's just a lot of adjustments. For the final details, I'm gonna do a nice flare and a camera filter. So this is what it would be like if Finding Nemo was set in space. Next up is the Good Dinosaur. Let's start with the space background that I got from the movie Elliot. Then we can import Earth at the bottom. I don't want the background to take attention away from our characters later, so I'll tone it down by painting some black on top of it. Then I'll add some glow on top of the Earth, as well as this super cool looking flare. Now we're finally ready to import Arlo. Let's cut him out using select subject and puppet warp him a little bit. But if we really want his pose to look dynamic, we're gonna need to cut out one of his legs, warp it, and erase the original one. But we accidentally gave him a pedicure, so let's duplicate his toes and warp them in place to fill the gap. Now we're just gonna repeat this for the other front leg. Obviously, I didn't forget about Spot, and I found this nice image of him that I can cut out using select subject. That I'm gonna cut out manually, then. Anyways, now that we got him, I'm gonna replace his pupils for him to look at the camera, just like Arlo already does. As far as I'm aware, dinosaurs can't survive in space. So I guess we can start by importing a helmet. I'm gonna cut out the top and fit it onto his head. Then I'll do the same with the side, but I'll liquefy it to keep the round part round. Then we can repeat the process with the bottom part of the helmet and paint what will become the glass. I'm gonna decrease its opacity, then paint a big reflection to make it look more spherical. And finally, I'll paint a rim light for the shape to be a lot more obvious. Alright, so now he can breathe in space, and we only got 3 more parts of the spacesuit to make. Let's paint all over his neck and add bumps on the sides. Then I'm gonna draw shadow to make the folds and give this some shading. I got this other helmet, which lower part I'll cut out and warp around the base of Arlo's neck. and I'll make it white just to match the rest. Now onto the body. Just like the net, I'm painting all over it and making sure to avoid the legs. But it's also gonna need some. It does feel kinda empty, so let's import this nice futuristic terminal and place it on the side of our dino. And we might as well connect it to the neck piece with some metal pipes. Now we're onto the legs, but I don't want this to look like a jumpsuit, so I got different angles of this round sci-fi looking thing, and I'm gonna put it at the transition point between the body and the leg. Then I'll paint the same thing as on the neck, which takes a while. We don't want to leave his knees exposed, and I found these 3D hokey protections that I'm gonna warp in place and then make them a lighter shade of grey. I'm also painting another part so that it goes all around the leg and giving it some shading so that it looks sort of 3D. Now we just have to repeat this for the rest of the legs. I mean, this is basically what Photoshop was made for. Putting a spacesuit on a dinosaur? Come on, that's fire. And I guess if you want me to keep doing stuff like this, you should probably subscribe, because a lot of you guys aren't subscribed yet. There's no way Spot is surviving in space like this. So let's get him a nice spacesuit and a helmet.
Nice.
Since the earth behind them is emitting light, there should be some on Arlo and Spot. So I'm painting highlights all around them. And for this to look even better, I'm adding a lens flare behind the tail of the dino, but also some light rays on the top right corner. Now the only thing missing is the title. And the obvious choice here is calling it the Space Dinosaur. So after a nice camera filter, this is the space version of the Good Dinosaur. Our last poster is cars. For this next one, I'm gonna pretend I'm Elon Musk and launch a car into space. The first step is painting our background black and overlaying a nebula on top of it. Then I'll add some stars and the moon in the corner. Now it's time to get Lightning McQueen. And I thought this pose was pretty good for flying in space, but I don't like his face. So let's do the closest thing I know to mechanic. And replace his front bumper, aka his mouth, as well as his windshield, aka his eyes. I'm guessing McQueen can't breathe in space, so that means he's gonna need a helmet. I found this futuristic space helmet and cut out the lower part. I don't know if you ever fitted a helmet onto a car, but it requires a lot of warping. And I did the same thing with the top part. But now he just looks like General Zod. So let's cut out the sides and fit them onto McQueen, before drawing the missing parts myself. And I'll just give them some shadows so that they don't look too bad. Now I'm gonna draw the glass part and add a bunch of reflections before painting shadows. But for a touch of extra realism, I'll warp the nebula to the right shape and overlay them on top.
Nice job, team.
For the rest of his body, I'm just painting over it and blending all the parts together with shadows. I'm also putting some nice robot texture on top, and obviously we can't forget the 95. I also want some sort of rover to be on the moon, and who better than Guido as a base?
Pizza.
But wheels are not gonna cut it. So I'm cutting out the track off of Wally and fitting it onto Guido. I'll just quickly color match them, and then I'm adding a nice antenna so that he can contact Earth, but also a nice solar panel on the other side. Now we can just put him on the moon and add a shadow under him. I guess all that's left is adding a title, and I thought it would be funny to call it Interstate Cars. So I wrote that in the same font as the original Interstellar movie, and I'm doing the particle inverted effect on the word cars. But I'm curious to know what you would have named it, so tell me in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, I'm sure you'll love to see me make kid movie posters into horror in that one.